One evening, after eating the cake my husband brought home to celebrate our anniversary, I suddenly collapsed. It happened about half an hour after I ate the cake. Our daughter was scared and crying, begging for help, but my husband didn't seem to care. He just smiled oddly and said, "Don't worry, she'll be fine." Then, he walked out, leaving me struggling and our daughter in tears. I had a feeling he was going to tell someone that his plan had worked. "Mom, are you okay?" my daughter asked through her tears. I tried to comfort her and said, "I'm all right, sweetheart." Slowly, I stood up and gave her a reassuring smile to calm her down, but in reality, I knew I was the one who had actually succeeded in a plan, one they didn't know about. They would soon face the consequences of what they had done. I'm Mia, a 32-year-old office worker. I live with my 6-year-old daughter, Emma, and my husband, Ryan, who is also 32. We used to be a happy family. Ryan was once a caring husband and a loving father, but about a year ago, he started acting distant and cold towards me. I couldn't understand why. I kept wondering if I had done something wrong, but nothing came to mind. One day, Ryan said to me, "You haven't aged well, have you? Well, you're 32 now, an old hag." His words hurt me deeply, especially since we were the same age. "That's harsh." "We're the same age," I replied, confused and upset. He continued, "Your clothes and makeup are outdated and uncool. Why don't you dress up like other people?" This sudden, hurtful criticism shocked me. Ryan had never been like this before. I couldn't understand why he was acting this way, and it made me feel sad and confused. Then, my daughter, Emma, stepped in and said, "Mom is beautiful, don't talk to her like that." Emma quickly defended me, but Ryan just clicked his tongue in annoyance and left the house. His terrible behavior wasn't just in his words. Sometimes, he completely ignored me. Even when I woke up early to make him lunch, he would get angry if he didn't like what I made. "What is this? Don't put frozen food in there. You're being lazy," he would shout. Once, he even had the nerve to throw the lunch I prepared into the trash. "That's so unfair. I only used one frozen item. I woke up early to make the other dishes fresh," I explained, feeling hurt. Emma always defended me, saying, "Mom's cooking is delicious," but even that seemed to annoy Ryan. "Emma, you don't understand. Your mom isn't doing her job properly, and that's why I'm advising her," Ryan replied coldly. "That's not true. Mom's doing her best. It's Dad who's wrong," Emma argued back. "You've really got our daughter wrapped around your finger, haven't you?" Ryan glared at me with disgust. The kindness I once knew in him was completely gone. We used to rarely fight, so I had no idea what had caused such a drastic change in Ryan. There was something else that was bothering me, too. Ryan, who had never been very enthusiastic about his job, suddenly started coming home late, saying he had to work overtime. He even began working on weekends. I couldn't help but wonder, was he having an affair? I had a bad feeling about his suspicious behavior, but I didn't have any proof. Part of me still wanted to believe in him. After all, he was still providing for our family and was a loving father to our daughter. I kept hoping that Ryan's bad mood would pass and that he'd go back to being the kind person he used to be, but then, something troubling happened. One day, when I updated our savings passbook, the account we were using to save for Emma's future education, I noticed the balance had gone down. Over the past 6 months, there had been several withdrawals, first $500, then $1,000, until a total of $10,000 was missing. The only other person who could access that account was Ryan. I confronted him, saying, "The money we've been saving for Emma is missing. Did you take it out?" Ryan casually replied, "Yeah, I lent it to a friend who was in debt." I was shocked. "Who is this friend you're helping by using Emma's savings?" "It's none of your business," he said dismissively, showing no guilt. It was also strange that he had withdrawn the money in small amounts over time, supposedly to lend to this friend. "That money was for Emma's future," I protested. "So what? It's my money, since the account is in my name. Stop complaining." "That's not fair. I work too, and I've been putting money into that account," I argued. Ryan suddenly snapped. "Shut up," he shouted, grabbing the remote control and throwing it at me. It missed my face by inches. "What are you doing? That's dangerous," I yelled, shocked by his outburst. "As my wife, how dare you boss me around? You should just obey me," Ryan snarled, refusing to listen to anything I said. Our relationship grew even more strained, and I didn't know how things had gotten so bad. I was worried about what to do, and trying to reconcile seemed impossible. One night, I woke up late and heard Ryan talking on his cell phone on the balcony. He was saying something shocking, looking forward to executing it on our wedding anniversary. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was this some kind of joke? I felt a deep sadness, realizing how much Ryan's love for me had faded. At the same time, I was terrified of what he might be planning. I kept hoping that Ryan's bad mood would pass and that he'd go back to being the kind person he used to be. But then, something troubling happened. One day, when I updated our savings passbook, the account we were using to save for Emma's future education, I noticed the balance had gone down. Over the past 6 months, there had been several withdrawals, first $500, then $1,000, until a total of $10,000 was missing. The only other person who could access that account was Ryan. I confronted him, saying, "The money we've been saving for Emma is missing. Did you take it out?" Ryan casually replied, "Yeah, I lent it to a friend who was in debt." I was shocked. "Who is this friend you're helping by using Emma's savings?" "It's none of your business," he said dismissively, showing no guilt. It was also strange that he had withdrawn the money in small amounts over time, supposedly to lend to this friend. That money was for Emma's future, I protested. "So what? It's my money, since the account is in my name. Stop complaining." "That's not fair. I work too, and I've been putting money into that account," I argued. Ryan suddenly snapped. "Shut up," he shouted, grabbing the remote control and throwing it at me. It missed my face by inches. "What are you doing? That's dangerous," I yelled, shocked by his outburst. "As my wife, how dare you boss me around? You should just obey me," Ryan snarled, refusing to listen to anything I said. Our relationship grew even more strained, and I didn't know how things had gotten so bad. I was worried about what to do, and trying to reconcile seemed impossible. One night, I woke up late and heard Ryan talking on his cell phone on the balcony. He was saying something shocking, looking forward to executing it on our wedding anniversary. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was this some kind of joke? I felt a deep sadness, realizing how much Ryan's love for me had faded. At the same time, I was terrified of what he might be planning. But I knew that the bouquet Ryan chose wasn't just because it was simple and modest. He had other reasons for picking it. "Could you put it in a vase right now?" Ryan asked. "I understand. Thank you for the beautiful flowers," I replied, pretending to be grateful. After arranging the flowers and enjoying a pleasant meal together, it was time for dessert. The cake Ryan brought had 3 flavors: chocolate, strawberry, and cheesecake. Looking at the cakes, I deliberately said to Emma, "Hey, Emma, I want to eat the chocolate cake today. Could you let me have it?" Emma looked a bit surprised and said, "But I always eat the chocolate." "Okay, I'll let you have it this time." I noticed Ryan suddenly tense up when he heard our conversation. "I'll have the cheesecake," I said. Before Emma could take her cake, Ryan quickly stopped her. He seemed flustered and scrambled for an excuse. "Wait, the cheesecake has a little bit of alcohol in it. The shop assistant told me Emma shouldn't eat it." Ryan's panic was almost funny. He quickly grabbed the strawberry cake before either Emma or I could. "You're eating that?" I asked. Yeah, I love strawberries," Ryan replied, trying to sound casual. "That's new to me," I said, surprised. Meanwhile, Emma happily started eating her favorite chocolate cake. As I chose the cheesecake, I noticed Ryan smirking. He quickly finished his portion of cake. As I reached for mine, he swallowed hard and said, "It's tough when you stare like that. Why don't you and Emma go take a bath first? I'll enjoy my cake afterward." Ryan laughed it off and took Emma to the bath. As they left, I made sure to say out loud, "All right, time to enjoy my cake." When Ryan came out of the bath later, he glanced at the remains of the cheesecake I had eaten and his face relaxed with relief. 10 minutes later, I started clutching my chest and called out for help. "My chest hurts, help me," I gasped, then collapsed on the dining room floor, pretending to be in agony. "Papa, Mommy is foaming at the mouth and collapsed. Help," Emma screamed, terrified. Emma called out to Ryan, who was watching TV in the living room. Despite seeing me struggling, he remained cold and said, "Don't worry, just leave her," and then walked out of the house, leaving Emma upset and me lying on the floor. I knew exactly where he was going. Once I was sure he had left, I stood up, just as I thought. I said, "Emma," surprised to see me recover so quickly, asked, "Mom, are you okay?" "Sorry, Emma, it was just a prank," I explained. Emma burst into a mix of laughter and tears, relieved that I was fine. Later, after I tucked Emma into bed, I heard the front door open. Ryan had come back home. He called out into the dark room, Emma, are you there? I brought Mama some medicine. It's going to be okay now. From the shadows, I silently stepped behind him and tapped his shoulder. What do you mean, it's going to be okay? I asked. Ryan screamed in shock and fell to the floor. Why are you still alive? He blurted out. He quickly tried to cover his tracks. No, when I saw you collapse, I ran outside to get help, but there was no one around, so I thought I'd go buy some stomach medicine. I see, how kind of you, I said calmly. I'm glad you're relieved to see me better. Ryan, thinking he had convinced me, relaxed a bit, but I wasn't fooled. You've got some nerve, lying like that. So, where's the stomach medicine you bought? I asked. Ryan stammered. Did I forget it at the pharmacy? I shook my head at his weak attempt to lie. Then, without saying anything, I pulled my phone from my pocket and played an audio recording. On the recording, Ryan's voice said, "Soon, I'll be with you and the money. Is that flour really that dangerous? I need to make sure our daughter doesn't accidentally eat it." Ryan's face turned pale. Where did you get that? He asked, panicking. About 2 weeks ago, you were on the balcony late at night, talking to someone on the phone. I overheard your suspicious conversation, I replied. I recorded the conversation right away, I said. But you ate the cake. You were foaming at the mouth and collapsed. How? Ryan asked, confused. Of course, I wouldn't eat the cake knowing it was poisoned, I explained. I only pretended to eat it. I kept the real cake as evidence. I showed him the cheesecake in a plastic bag. The foam was just meringue made from egg whites. You tricked me, Ryan shouted. No, Ryan, it was you who tricked me. I found out about your plan when I checked your computer, I said. Ryan's plan was simple but cruel. He was going to give me flowers and cake for our anniversary, but he had secretly coated the cake with poison from the flour. His idea was that if the police investigated, it would look like I poisoned myself by handling the flowers and eating the cake without washing my hands. Suddenly, Ryan moved toward me with anger in his eyes. Give me that evidence. Don't even think about it, I said. I've already called the police, and they'll be here soon. Plus, this room is under surveillance. Everything is recorded. What? You're lying, Ryan said, panicking. He fell to the floor, begging, please. I was persuaded by another woman. I didn't want to do it. Tell the police it was a misunderstanding, please. It's too late, I replied calmly. But what about Emma? Don't you care that she'll grow up without a father? Ryan pleaded. It's better than her being with someone who tried to take my life, I said coldly. Ryan was now on the floor, crying and begging, but I didn't feel sorry for him. At that moment, the police arrived, and Ryan was arrested, still screaming and crying as they took him away. After that, both Ryan and his mistress were found guilty of trying to kill me. Of course, I divorced him and demanded $2,000 in damages and $10,000 in child support. His parents kindly paid the money and promised to make him work to repay everything after he was released from prison. I also demanded $2,000 in damages from his mistress. Her parents paid, but she was disowned and fired from her job at Ryan's company. She now faces a hard life for her crimes. Emma and I moved back to my parents' house, where we are living peacefully and happily. To protect Emma, I told her that her father had gone far away for work, surrounded by love from me and my parents. My daughter is growing up healthy and strong. Watching her thrive makes me determined to keep raising her with all my heart.